Imagine being 5 years old, barely able to read, still craving your mother's lullabies. But tonight, you're herded onto a rickety boat in the frigid Aegean Sea, your wrists chained alongside dozens of other children. No one cries. The sound of sobs is drowned by the howling sea wind, leaving only bone-chilling fear. Your destination? Not home, not school, but the dazzling Topkapi Palace of the Ottoman Empire, a place where golden splendor hides unspeakable tragedies. This isn't a fairy tale. It's a buried truth, concealed by history for centuries. Are you ready to hear the story of a Greek boy forced into the imperial harem at 6, living a life forgotten by time, and dying quietly at 20? Picture the southern Balkans in 1669. The Ottoman Empire has just conquered Candia, Crete, tightening its grip on the eastern Mediterranean. A brutal policy called devshirme, the infamous blood tax, sweeps through Greece, Albania, Bulgaria, and Serbia. You're a Greek boy named Nico, living in a small fishing village by the Saronic Gulf. One evening, the deep blue sky is pierced by the glow of Ottoman campfires. Since the early 16th century, every spring or fall, Ottoman Sipahi soldiers, mounted warriors in red uniforms, carrying crescent moon banners, ride into villages to enforce devshirme. They recruit the healthiest, most handsome boys. Locals call it the Levy of Boys, a dreaded event no family can escape, enforced by the Sultan's law, now harsher than ever after recent military campaigns. Ottoman records are clear. Every 40 to 50 households must surrender one boy, aged 5 to 12, chosen for striking looks, intelligence, and physical health. These boys are stripped of family ties, converted to Islam, given Turkish names, and molded into the empire's machine, some as janissary soldiers. Others, like Nico, with delicate features, as special attendants in the imperial harem. Kekik or harem boys. You're woken in the dead of night by the clatter of hooves and the blare of Ottoman trumpets. Under torchlight, your village glows as if ablaze. Soldiers go door to door, checking records, calling names, inspecting children. This is Sultan Mehmed IV's order. The commander tells the village elder in a mix of Turkish and Greek, "Hide a child, and you'll face the lash. Your lands will be seized." Balkan folklore whispers of villages hiding children in wine cellars, forests, or churches, but Ottoman soldiers leave no stone unturned. Poor families, like yours, are hit hardest too broke to bribe their way out. Of the devshirme blacklist, you're torn from your mother's arms. Her screams echo as she's shoved to the ground. Your father's pleas are ignored. You recall your grandmother's tales. In 1648, the next village lost 4 boys. Only one returned, his hair white, his eyes empty. But no story, no matter how heartbreaking, can stop the Sultan's soldiers. The soldiers gather the boys in front of the village church, inspecting them under flickering flames' teeth. Hands, faces, posture. An officer scribbles in a ledger, reading aloud in Turkish. Nicolaus, 5 years, old, blue eyes, brown hair selected. With a few strokes of a pen, you're no longer a Greek villager's son, but a record in the Ottoman archives. By dawn, 20 boys are marched to horse-drawn carts. Your destination, the Corinth Fortress, a collection point for children from across the Peloponnese, awaiting ships to Istanbul. Desperate families toss bread, rosaries, or small coins, hoping there. Sons cling to fragments of home. The soldiers discard them all. These boys belong to the Sultan now, not you. On the road to Corinth, you overhear grim tales from the adults. Under Murad II, devshirme began, but Mehmed IV's reign is merciless. Every war means more boys taken. One village rebelled. The whole place was burned. The Sultan crushes. Defiance. You're given a small cloth sack containing your village clothes, a wooden doll your mother carved a figure of Hermes, a stale piece of bread, and a handkerchief scented with lavender. That night, Corinth's fortress echoes with muffled sobs and whispered prayers. But the Ottoman overseers forbid noise, lashing offenders in front of everyone. At dawn, the fortress gates swing open, and the boys are marched to the harbor, where Ottoman ships await, their crescent flags flapping. Officers double-check their lists, muttering, "These ones pretty and obedient go to the palace, not the janissary corps." Smaller, timid boys like you are chosen for Topkapi Palace. You're shoved onto a ship, crammed into a dank hold, with 20 others. The commander barks. In 1669, the Sultan demands more keiki-kyung dancers for grand feasts at Topkapi. Disobey, and you'll be punished. The words, though half understood, send shivers down your spine. Rumors say kekek are boys forced to dance at royal banquets, living rootless lives without family or home. The ship rocks across the sea for days. At night, you clutch your wooden doll, whispering for your parents. Younger boys murmur, "They." Say in Istanbul, they cut your hair, dress you in strange clothes, and make you bow to the Sultan. An older boy adds, "Last year's Devshirm took my cousin. No one knows if he's alive." You recall your mother's final words, "Now." A stabbing pain in your chest. One day, through a crack in the ship's hull, you glimpse Istanbul's bustling port, glowing with golden lights. The green domes of Hagia Sophia, ancient city walls, and Topkapi Palace loom on the hill. You know nothing of these places, only rumors. Where Sultan Mehmed IV hosts lavish feasts, where the harem houses hundreds of women, and where boys like you from the Balkans are erased, remade into strangers with no past, no family, no name. When the ship docks, you're herded ashore and lined up at Topkapi's gates. A supervisor with a ledger sorts the boys. This one's scrawny kitchen duty. That one's handsome harem. Boys like you are led to a private chamber where palace matrons inspect you again, their voices a jumble of Turkish and Greek. One thing is clear, you're no longer Nico from the fishing village. You're a cog in the Ottoman machine. Memories of your village, your parents, the familiar cadence of Greek, fade under the glow of strange lamps, the scent of musk, the creak of old wood, and the distant sound of festival horns from the palace. Your wooden doll is all that remains, a fragile seed of memory amid history's storm. You don't know that. At the same moment, hundreds of other boys from Macedonia, Bulgaria, and Albania are also chosen, taken, their childhoods erased in a single night by a single decree, a single line in the Ottoman Chronicles. Arrive in Istanbul on a strangely sunny day. The sky is a brilliant blue, and the city's domes gleam like giant jewels against the Mediterranean horizon. But the first light you feel isn't freedom. It's the cold glow of oil lamps flickering. On the thick stone walls of Topkapi Palace, Topkapi is unlike anything you've ever known. Towering walls, deep green tiled roofs, and massive bronze gates etched with crescent moons mark it as the heart of the Ottoman Empire, where every decision by Sultan Mehmed IV can reshape the Mediterranean's fate. To you, though, Topkapi is a labyrinth, a golden cage. On your first day, a palace matron leads you and a dozen other boys through icy stone corridors. The air is heavy with frankincense, musk, and the scent of fresh fabric, overwhelming your senses. The matrons, regal and silent as shadows, whisper in Turkish, a language you don't yet understand. One matron studies you closely, then orders. An attendant to fetch a silk robe embroidered with tulip patterns in emerald green and pale gold, shimmering under the lamplight. "Try this on him," she says, her eyes fixed on you. His eyes match the green. You've never worn anything so soft. Back in your fishing village, burlap was a luxury, always stiff with the smell of fish and salt water. Here, everything is polished silk robes, scented candles, makeup, and extravagant feathered hats you must wear for performances. You feel like a character from the myths your mother once told you, but deep down, you know you're just a puppet, dressed up for others to admire. Your first days are spent learning to dance and sing under the guidance of an old Persian musician. His bright eyes and wrinkled hands keep time on an oud, teaching you how to step and spin without dropping your hat. A cacique must always smile, he says, no matter how much your heart wants to cry. You learn to smile, to meet the gazes of high-ranking officials, the Sultan, or distinguished guests from Vienna or Venice. They're drawn to boys like you, brown hair, blue eyes, fair skin. Later, European travelers would write home about it as one noted, "I've never seen a place where luxury, desire, and power blend so seamlessly as in Topkapi's harem." During grand feasts, hundreds of candles light up the great hall, their glow dancing on golden walls and marble floors. Sultan Mehmed IV, a young king fond of hunting and music, sits on a velvet throne, surrounded by nobles and Western dignitaries. The music swells, drums, flutes, and clapping merge into a wave of sound and motion. You and the other boys spin and dance, your hair flying, silk robes flaring like wings. Every step, every glance is rehearsed to perfection. You smile, even as candle smoke stings your eyes, even as your too tight shoes pinch your feet, even as fear grips you, fear of being noticed, or worse, forgotten. You realize the light in Topkapi isn't just golden. It's cold, too weak to warm the loneliness inside you. One night, a group of European guests, including Lady Mary Wortley Montagu, wife of the English ambassador, is permitted to attend a feast. She watches, jotting notes. The dancing boys are stunning, but their eyes are always shadowed, sad beneath the makeup. Here, I see not just splendor but sorrow, the darkness within young souls. Years later, in her letters from Turkey, 1760s, she'd share this glittering yet hollow world with Europe. You remember your first performance before the Sultan. The hall thunders with applause, cheers, and clinking goblets. You spin until you're dizzy, your robe fluttering like a bird's wings. With each turn, you catch someone's gaze, curious, amused, sometimes hungry. You're trained never to show fear, only to smile. When the music stops, you bow, hearing praise in a mix of languages: Turkish, Greek, French, Italian. "That boy dances so well." Someone whispers, and you spin again, as if stopping would make everything vanish. Nights without performances, you sit in your small room, listening to the Bosphorus waves. A boy beside you whispers, "Are we really living in a palace? Or is this just a dream we're trapped in?" You don't answer, just clutch your worn wooden doll, sometimes imagining your mother's lullaby from long ago. By day, you train dancing, singing, learning Turkish and Persian, mastering the court's complex rituals. The matrons teach you to bow properly, to move silently, to listen and obey without question. Each morning, you don a new robe and line up with the other cacique. Some boys are whipped for spilling perfume. Others cry out, then fall silent, terrified of worse punishment. You learn that even the smallest mistake carries a price. No one is truly safe here. Western historians, starting in the 17th century, described cacique as more than dancers, symbols of hidden desire, cloaked in glamour. In The Imperial Harem by Leslie Peirce, she writes, "These boys, chosen for their beauty and youth, often prepubescent, were ornaments for feasts, entertainment for the Sultan and his guests, but also silent victims of power and tradition. Sometimes, during a banquet, you hear stifled sobs from a nearby room, swallowed by music, laughter, and clinking glasses. You once hoped light would save you from the darkness. But in Topkapi, light only sharpens the details, the bruises on your hands, the tears you quickly wipe away, the quiet loneliness you can't name. Some nights, you sit by a small window, gazing at the moonlit palace gardens. You think of your village, the smell of grilled fish, the sound of waves, your mother's voice, your father's laugh. But Topkapi has no parents, no freedom only. Silk robes, endless candles, and eyes that never stop watching. Occasionally, an old matron approaches, strokes your hair, and murmurs something in Turkish. You don't fully understand, but her touch carries a rare warmth. It's the most you can hope for here. A fleeting moment of kindness in a maze of power and opulence. As months pass, you grow, carrying both fear and a small spark of pride. Though just a kekik, you hold on to the memory of your mother, your childhood, the only true light in Topkapi's shadows. You're 6 years old. One moonless night, when the palace seems cloaked in cold mist, you're summoned. A matron leads you through the halls. No one speaks. You've been told you're chosen for a special group, but you don't know what special means. Your hands are ice cold, your legs numb. The room blazes with candlelight, the flames thicker than your wrists, burning endlessly as if to banish all shadows. But you know some darkness no light can touch. A man sits there, silent, his gaze fixed on you, long, cold, unyielding. You want to look away, but the matron grips your shoulders, holding you in place. You don't know how long you stand there. Music drifts from somewhere in the palace. The oud, Persian flutes, sounds Western guests call the flavor of the East. To you, they're just echoes of a world that doesn't belong to you. You're told to shed your silk robe and put on a heavy red cloak, its fabric cold against your skin. The man approaches. His hands, his perfume, his breath all foreign, all so alien you wish you could vanish. You cry. No one comforts you. Each time you sob, he slaps you, shouting that you must be good, silent, grateful for being chosen. You don't understand why. You don't know what comes next. All you feel is pain, shame, and humiliation. You learn to stay quiet. In Topkapi, no one asks if you're hurting. No one cares what you think. You're no longer Nico, no longer your mother's son, your father's pride. You're just a Kaniak. In the nights that follow, you grow used to the summons in the dark. You know the cold stone corridors by heart, the mute walls, the oil lamps that never go out. You grow used to being a shared possession of those. With power. You lose count of how many times you're called, how many mornings you wake with bruises on your arms, your back, your chest. By day, you slip into silk robes, practice your dances, your songs, your smiles for the Sultan and his guests, the same people who, hours before, treated you like a toy, only to praise you as obedient and beautiful. In the morning light. No one asks if you're okay. No one notices your hollow eyes. Lady Mary Wortley Montague, the Western noblewoman who visited Topkapi, wrote of boys like you. Their eyes are always shadowed, sad beneath the makeup. You hear her words, you remember them, and you stop crying. You grow older each day, but your heart shrinks, grows colder. Every morning, you wake weaker, more drained. You no longer hope, no longer dream. You simply exist, a voiceless shadow in a palace of gold. You know what's been taken can never be returned. Your name, your childhood, your belief in anything good. You wonder when the darkness will end. No one answers. You've lived in Topkapi for years, grown used to nights without tears, silent footsteps in the dark, and the feeling of being no one among the powerful. You thought you'd seen it all, the golden glow of the great hall, distant music, the scent of perfume, and pain you believed couldn't cut any deeper. Then 1703 arrives, and everything changes. That year, whispers spread about the janissary's rage. These elite soldiers, once children like you, torn from villages in Greece, Serbia, and Albania, can no longer tolerate starvation, injustice, and the court's brutal punishments. They rebel. History calls it the Edirne incident, but to you, it's a blur of terrifying nights and days where survival feels uncertain. You remember the rebellion start a strange sound, not music or the matron's footsteps, but the clash of weapons on stone and shouts tearing through the night. You wake in your room, the hallway's light flickering on the ceiling like angry waves. You hear soldiers yelling, doors slamming, boots pounding on cold stone floors. You don't know what's happening, only that you're scared, curling into yourself, praying no one remembers you. No one calls you out. The other Kekik boys barely breathe. In the dark, their wide eyes gleam, lips trembling. Someone whispers, "The janissaries will burn the palace." Another, terrified, says, "They'll kill the Kekik too." You don't know who to believe. Your pulse thunders, each beat threatening to rip through your chest. Morning comes, but the terror lingers. The air is thick with smoke, iron, blood, and tears. You're herded into the great hall with the other Kekik, maids, and eunuchs. The Sultan is gone. Rumors say he fled to Edirne, leaving Topkapi to the rebels. Historians later write that janissaries looted the treasury, torched grand chambers, and punished officials they despised. Hundreds died, from the powerful to the nameless. You see older Kekik, who once taught you to dance, beaten to their knees for not bowing low enough. A younger boy is slapped unconscious for crying too loudly. No one protects you. The matrons keep their eyes down. A janissary storms past, shouting, "You Kekik, you living dolls, dancing for the Sultan. Where's your Sultan now?" You bow your head, silent, wishing you could vanish, wishing this were all a dream. You're forced to clean rooms, to gather the belongings of officials killed the night before. In the familiar corridors, you see bloodstains streaking the marble. Floors, a red velvet cloak crumpled at the base of a staircase. You can't recall how many faces vanished in a single night, how many boys you'll never dance with again. The nights that follow are oppressively quiet. No music, no feasts. The remaining officials stay silent, the Sultan still absent. No one dares host dances. You're locked in your room for days, hearing only rumors. Janissaries hanging eunuchs, beating matrons, burning the chambers of the harem women. You think back. Those who once saw you as a prized object now flee in fear, forgetting you exist. The Western guests who praised your dances and rode the harem's splendor have boarded ships and left Istanbul. Lady Mary Wortley Montagu, in a letter about the rebellion, describes the palace's fear. Even among the children used as entertainment. You sit in your room, staring through a tiny window at Istanbul's fog-shrouded sky, hearing only the caws of crows circling the domes. You think of your fishing village, the sea breeze, your father calling to your mother, her worried eyes during storms. You once believed Topkapi held the worst pain possible, but now you see it can always get worse. When people fear nothing, they'll do anything to the weakest. Some Kekik don't survive those nights. Starved, frozen, beaten, some are dragged away, never to return. Names go unspoken, faces linger only in your memory, like a painful dream you can't wake from. You find you have no tears left. You age overnight, hardened in a lightless void. After the rebellion, you know you're nothing in Topkapi. That safety is an illusion, that every light here is a lie. Historians mark the rebellion as a turning point, the end of Mem IV's golden era, the start of the empire's decline. To you, it's the end of childhood, of any dreams you once held. You know no one will come to save you. You learn to survive in silence, in emptiness, carrying the memory of lost friends, the smell of smoke, blood, and lingering musk on your silk robes. You wonder, if someone reads this story one day, Will they understand what it was like to be a kekik? A child swallowed by the darkness of power, a shadow surviving a storm no one remembers? No one answers, only you and the darkness. Remain, waiting for a dawn that never comes. You survived the rebellion, but Topkapi is forever changed. The grand feasts lose their luster, the music rings hollow, and the once proud silk robes grow threadbare, lit only by the dim flicker of half-burned candles. You realize you're growing, older day by day, like a guest left behind after a lavish party lights out, friends gone, only ruins and silence remain. You've been a kekik longer than any of your peers. Once, new boys looked at you with awe, even envy. "That's Nico," they'd whisper, gifted a silk scarf by the Sultan, dancing in the hands of Western guests. Now, younger, prettier boys arrive, each wave washing away the past like summer tides. You walk empty corridors, tracing cracks in the stone walls, remembering when the lights seemed dazzling, when you believed the music, candles, silk, and dreams could erase the pain. But darkness has become an old friend, while the Shio light is just makeup caked on after endless feasts. You grow frail, your skin pale, the rosy glow of youth faded. The matrons whisper about you. He was Topkapi's finest kekik. But everyone's time fades. You overhear a high official sneer, like an Istanbul summer beautiful, then gone in a flash. You offer a faint smile, no longer ashamed, or proud, just empty, like the bottom of a shattered wine goblet on a banquet table. You think of your years here as a dream, feasts that never slept, music that never stopped, praise sparkling like stars on your silk robes. You thought you'd stay young forever, always remembered. But like every dazzling Gatsby, the brightest moment marks the beginning of the end dot in your final days. You're rarely called to dance or given new robes. You spend hours by a small window, watching moonlight melt over the palace domes, straining to hear echoes of old music, friends' laughter, or your mother calling your name when you were a child who didn't yet know pain. You realize your youth passed in golden light, but your heart was never warmed. Some afternoons, you pick up an old silk scarf, wondering how many hands touched it, how many dreams dissolved on its threads. You see new kekik pass by, their eyes gleaming with hope and ambition, just as yours once did. You want to tell them, don't trust this light. It belongs to no one. That last winter, you fall ill. No one truly cares. The attendants give you bitter medicine and mutter rehearsed comforts. You know you're fading like the last candle of a feast unseen, unnamed. You dream more often of the sea, your village, old summers that will never return. One cold night, in your small room, under the faint glow of a dying light, you slip away quietly. No one weeps, no one remembers. The next morning your body is carried to the graveyard behind the palace, buried among countless forgotten names. The court's records note only a dry line. A kekik has died. Yet somewhere in this golden city, within Topkapi's ancient walls, the echo of your dancing lingers. Like distant music at a feast's end, like the afterglow of dusk heart breakingly beautiful, desperately radiant, and achingly alone. The Ottoman Empire's devshirm policy, the blood tax, is etched in history as a cornerstone of its power. Sultan after sultan traded the anguish of colonized families for the security of their throne. The most beautiful children were torn away, transformed into kekik in the imperial harem, living toys for power and desire. They lived, grew, and died, their names absent from the glittering annals of Topkapi Palace. The world might have forgotten these souls forever, were it not for the piercing questions. Where lies a society's dignity if its weakest are treated as objects? Can true glory be built when every light is kindled from the darkness of children's tears? If anyone hears Nico's story a boy, who danced under golden candlelight, believing obedience would earn him love. Let them remember he stands for thousands of nameless spirits. Let them recall that Topkapi's walls still echo with their voices, distant songs, stifled sobs, and unanswered cries for their mothers. Today, Topkapi's harem is a relic where tourists marvel at sparkling jewels, intricate murals, and marble corridors cold as memory. But beneath the surface lie traces of lives crushed, which history once tried to erase. Nico's fate, and those of countless children like him, demands the modern world reflect. Can we claim civilization or progress if anywhere children are enslaved, their childhood stolen for power or indifference? Can we call it freedom when the voices of the weakest are drowned beneath anthems of glory? History does not forgive forgetfulness. Those small souls unnamed in books are humanity's conscience. To remember them, to speak of them, is the only way to ensure the future does not repeat the darkness of the past. For freedom, compassion, and human dignity are not the privilege of the strong, but the natural, sacred right of every being, whether born in a humble fishing village or buried in oblivion within the stone walls of a golden palace.